Welcome everybody to the Giver Method channel. My name is Jake, and I'm so glad you're able to join me. Now today we're going to be talking about this thing that I call the confidence myth, which is really like why you don't need all the confidence in the world to succeed, be successful, or live a fulfilled life. Now action does start to create more confidence, and confidence does help us on the path, but you don't need all of it in the world. You don't need to have it all figured out to make the impact you want to make. And so, this is going to be one of those it's going to be talking about one of those lies that keeps really capable people stuck where they're at and not able to make the impact that they were born to make. So there's this myth that you need to feel like fully confident before you can take meaningful action, which can show up in all sorts of ways. As a parent, you're trying to feel like you have all your parenting figured out and schedules right and everything like that before you can try a new approach with your kids. If you're an entrepreneur, it's like you've been working on and perfecting that business plan for months because you don't feel ready to launch yet. Or maybe you're the employee who keeps seeing other people get promotions or move on, because you don't feel confident enough to speak up, apply, or put yourself out there as a part of that, right? Now, if any of that sounds familiar, then what we're covering today is going to completely flip your understanding of how confidence actually is going to work. Because here's the truth that successful people know, but they rarely talk about it. They don't feel more confident than you do by any means. I've been in a lot of rooms with really successful people who are struggling with confidence issues. But what they've learned is something that really changes everything. Confidence isn't something you have to have before you act. It's just something that you build as you're acting. And so I want to dive deep into that today. And like I said, my name is Jake, Jake Talbert. I'm the founder. I'm the author of this book. It's called The Giver Method. Came out in November. Since coming out, it sold thousands of copies, it has tons of 5-star reviews, it's an Amazon bestseller, and everything we're going to cover today is grounded in it. And so I highly recommend that you grab yourself a copy of it. There's all sorts of worksheets and things that you can go do, put into action right away as a part of that. Super actionable book that really can make a big impact in your life to help you make more impact and more influence in your life, create more value for those around you, have better relationships, more fulfillment, discover your gifts and superpowers. So I highly recommend you get that. Now, what you'll find in there, what I talk about in the book is I definitely grounded the fact that I've been there myself with confidence. I spent years waiting to feel ready for things, that I was truly already capable of doing. I waited to feel confident before I started any sort of a business. I waited to feel like good enough, father before having these difficult conversations with my kids. I waited to feel qualified before I would share my gifts with the world. And all that waiting did was it robbed me of the very experiences that would have built confidence I was seeking, and it robbed the people I could have been making an impact in their lives of the ability to actually have their lives be impacted and upgraded and changed because of that. What I discovered, and as I worked on the book, what the research consistently confirmed behind that is that confidence is a result of action, not the requirement to go and take action. It's built through this what psychologists call these mastery experiences. Okay, so these are going to be the moments where you do something despite the uncertainty, and you discover that you can handle whatever happened, that you made it through and you made an impact. And so that's what we want to talk about today. We're going to be going through these 5 essential strategies that will help you break free from this confidence trap and start building real and evidence-based confidence through action. Now, these aren't theoretical or woo-woo concepts. They're practical tools that are designed. Everything I do in the book and on the videos is designed for busy parents, the overwhelmed entrepreneur, the dedicated employees. So you can use them to stop waiting for readiness and start creating what it is that you were born to create. Once again, like I said, everything that we cover today is grounded in the Giver Method. Because your natural gifts don't you don't sacrifice through endless preparing. They don't start to surface through endless preparing. They show up when you are in motion and taking action. And so if you want to dive deeper, like I said, I'll put the link in the description. You can go get it on Amazon, and or maybe if you want to, you can pay it forward to someone else, get a copy for someone else, that way they can start to learn these same type of principles. Now, those of you who maybe want a little more hands-on support, I recently opened a few spots in my one-on-one coaching and mentoring. So if you're ready to move faster and break through of these old patterns, or finally start showing up as the kind of action-based confidence we're talking about today, then you'll find a link in the description where you can learn more about that. And then, of course, if this topic resonates with you and you've got a stage, a podcast, a team, an event, a community, whatever, and this message could make a difference to them, then I'd love to explore how we could bring this to your people and really serve them. And you'll find all the details down in the description, links to those, as well as places you can find us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, all those places, as well as you can go to thegivermethod.com for all more details. Of course, like this video, please like it. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. Ring the bell for notifications, because I don't want you to miss out on any of the content multiple times, and I want to make sure that they show up in front of you at the right time. Now with that, I'll just say, let's dive in. Let's get into this, how you can stop waiting for confidence to find you and start building it through your courage and action, because the person you're meant to become is waiting on the other side of your actions that you just haven't taken yet. So I highly recommend, as we go through these strategies and principles, that you grab a piece of paper, open up a notes app, something, jot down your thoughts as we go, or leave comments along the way, because I love to respond to those. So I've got 5 of them. The first one is going to be, it's what I call the backwards brain revelation. So understanding why your brain keeps you waiting. Your brain tells you you're not ready, and why, you need to understand, because this is one of the biggest reasons why we get stuck in this waiting to feel ready mode. It's not because you're broken. It's not because you're missing some magical confidence gene that other people were born with. It's because you've got we've all got these ancient brains that are really good at keeping us alive, but really bad at helping us grow. So here's the deal: your brain is wired with what scientists call these negativity bias, which basically means that it's way faster at spotting danger than noticing what we're capable of. Back in the day, that kept you from being eaten by tigers, but today, it's when you think about starting your new business, having that hard conversation with your child, speaking up in a meeting, your brain is kicking in, whoa, hold on, danger mode here, let's stop a second, this could go badly, better hold off, we're not 100% ready for that yet. But the truth is that feeling isn't telling you you're unprepared. It's just telling you that you're about to grow and stretch, and that's exactly when you need to actually move and not wait. So here's what I want you to do. Here's what I want you to think about as you do this. When doubt starts to creep in, when you catch yourself hesitating, pause and say, okay, my brain's doing its job. It's trying to keep me safe, but this isn't a tiger. This is a growth moment. This is something I'm excited about. This is something I want to do. You can say it out loud if it helps. Hey, this protection mode, it's what all it is. It's not reality. And simply shifting that and putting everything back into the driver's seat for yourself. You're not trying to erase doubt, because doubt will always creep in. Like I said, the most successful people I know struggle with imposter syndrome, doubt, confidence issues. You're just learning to move through it the way that successful people do. And then here's a little practice that I love. You could keep a courage versus comfort log throughout the week. Anytime you hesitate, jot down, my brain is telling me what might happen, and then write out what actually was true about what you can handle, and start to see the pattern real fast, how most of the fears are way bigger in our head than they end up being in real life. When you stop taking doubt personally and you stop letting it run your show, you realize oh, this is it's old wiring and programming that is just trying to keep me small. And when you see it for what it is, then you can act on it. Here's the kicker once again, tons of research out there that show that people who understand this are 60% more likely to take action even when they feel nervous, because that's the goal, not to erase the fear, but to move forward alongside it and use it as momentum. Now that helps us transition to the other 4 strategies we're going to talk about really, really well. So the second one is going to be this immediate action activation. It's how you master a 5-second decision. So think about it this way, the how do you move before the doubt kicks in? Create that as a habit and stop overthinking just so you can start. It's one of the biggest places people get stuck, is that space between I think talking about here, there's that moment where you think I should send that email, right? Or I should speak up, or I could try that new thing. And then 5 seconds later, your brain starts throwing every reason in the world why now is not the right time. Great book by Mel Robbins called The 5-Second Rule that can help with just this one principle. There's a whole book on just this idea. Before you know it, when those 5 seconds pass, the moment has passed you. You're back in the loop of overthinking, second guessing, planning the perfect way to do it later. You're not doing it. That's why this habit, what I call this move before doubt, is so powerful. The neuroscience out there tells us that we've got these tiny windows, and they're only about 5 seconds before hesitation and fear start taking over. And so if you can just move physically and do something, in that window, you shut the door of overthinking, you create some sort of momentum and path forward. The momentum is what builds action-based confidence. So here's what you want to do. And like I said, I'm taking this directly from like what Mel Robbins teaches, like because I believe in it and I've practiced it and I know it works. It's super simple. It's like you take like, you know, something low stakes, like, hey, I should text that friend back. And then you just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Type the first word. You know, you think I should finally start that email. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your email. The goal isn't to do it right, perfect, or anything like that. It's just movement. You're training your body and brain to link impulse with action. You can also set up action cues. So this is a little bit different, where you if you know where you tend to freeze, like, you know, when I have an idea in a meeting, you know, I'll count down and speak up. Or when I think of a post or a social thing that I want to do, like I'll count down and I'll just open up my notes app, like start doing something. Like you're basically building the reflex, you know, where you think it and then you move on it. There's another little tool that you could use that works really well. It's like focus on just the next physical step. Like if you want to work out, the next step is just putting on your shoes. It's not like going to the gym and lifting for 2 hours and running a marathon. It's like, nope, just put on your shoes. You know, I want to start a tough conversation. Well, the next step is like picking up the phone. Want to start that project? Like then open the dock. Like just one little action breaks through that resistance. And once you're moving, it's so much easier to keep going. You know, hesitation, that's one of the biggest like places where confidence is going to die. You know, the longer that you sit on an idea, the harder it is to actually act on it, even if it matters a ton to you. But when you practice this sort of habit of moving fast before doubt, like you start building an identity of someone that takes action on that. And you know, there's all sorts of ways that that can show up for you. It starts to change everything because action builds confidence, and action, you know, becomes who you are as a part of that. Now, in the third strategy principle idea is like this progress momentum system. So how we need to redefine success and train your brain to expect more. So think about progress, you know, how you keep moving even when things are messy. Let me just put it that way. Because it's one of the big traps that keeps so many people stuck, is they're waiting for that perfect plan, the perfect moment, the perfect version of themselves, the perfect website, the perfect video edit, the perfect fill in the blank of whatever it is. You know, they trap themselves in perfectionism. And here's the problem. Perfectionism is like makes like any sort of movement feel impossible because you never feel ready enough. The more you wait, the more you actually stay stuck. Now, the other piece that people don't realize is that your brain loves to highlight your misses. You know, because of that negativity bias we talked about. You remember, like you remember what didn't work more vividly than what actually did work. You know, and if you deep down, like you believe, like, I'm not good at finishing things, I don't follow through on things, I don't complete this, your brain's going to cherry pick evidence to prove that story true. You know, so what you're really keeping, that's what's really keeping you stuck is you know, not your ability in any natural abilities in any sort of way. It's just an old lopsided story that hasn't been updated, that programming that just hasn't been rewritten. You know, so this shifts for people because, you know, it's the idea of like a progress over perfect. You know, it's so powerful because you're lowering the bar to movement and training your brain to spot and celebrate that movement and that momentum. Because the truth is, every imperfect action is still a win. You figure out a lot of things at step 1 that if you wait to have all 10 steps ready, you may never figure out, and step 10 may not even make sense to you. You know, progress builds momentum. Momentum is what keeps you moving. So here's what you want to do. First, stop making success an all or nothing thing. Like for any goal or challenge, like set like there's both like a result and a learning goal. If your goal is to have a better conversation with your teenager, your learning goal might be to practice listening instead of reacting. The way that like, the next conversation is like, it could be messy, but you still win because you're showing up and growing. And then after you take that sort of thing, you want to adopt like, okay, well, what's the version 1.0? Like when we have products roll out, there's versions that roll out, software updates, there's versions. You know, you want to just take that mentality where first, like you try anything. Like, I'm going to try something and I know it's not going to be polished. It's supposed to be version 1. I always say, and I've explained this a lot when I work with businesses on their systems and software as well, like version 1 is always going to outperform version none. And we learn a lot, and I've helped people make a lot of money on version 1 because there's so many people who wait. They're trying to get to version 5 out the gate, and they never do it. So, like, when you finish, like, the first version, you launch that simple product, you try that new approach, you speak up in a meeting, like you want to celebrate the hell out of that thing. Like, it actually celebrate it. Most people never get version 1 out the door because like they're too busy making it perfect first, and then finally use like experiment language. Like, instead of saying like I'm going to overhaul my whole schedule, it's like, well, I'm trying out one small change this week. You know, lowers the pressure on your brain, makes it sound like an easier next step. Then once a week, take 5 minutes and ask yourself, like, what moved forward? What did I learn? And like, that sort of simple reflection helps your brain unlock more of this sort of evidence, because if you only measure success by perfection, then you're going to be stuck. But when you measure that progress, like the movement, the momentum, the little steps, you help your brain start to spot those wins. You create even more of that momentum. And like I said, momentum's gold. Studies show the approach actually makes you more persistent, more motivated, and more likely to actually achieve your goals. Plus, like, it just feels better. Like, you stop beating yourself. You actually start trusting yourself, and you can figure things out as you go. And that's what really is going to build confidence. Now, we're about halfway through this. I'd love to know anything you've taken away, any of your thoughts, any aha moments. Feel free to leave them in the comments, because I do read them and I do like to respond to them where I can. But with that, let's just move into these last two. So number 4 is like, there's evidence acclimation strategies. So like, how you build unshakable foundation of proof, like proof that you already have done this, and how that confidence, like, so you can just lean on it when you need it. Like, one of the biggest reasons people feel like they don't have enough confidence is not in any way because they're actually lacking any sort of an ability. Is because they've got terrible memory of their wins. Once again, brain is kicking in. You might remember the awkward moment, or every time you hesitated, or how you forget all the times that you actually went and figured things out, all the times you showed up and navigated uncertainty, all the times you've made a difference, and sometimes you just don't even recognize it. That's how our brain works. It highlights the stumbles and glosses over the successes, which leaves us feeling less capable. So this proof you already have, like, is such a game changer idea, because it's about intentionality, collecting real world evidence that, of something that you've done, someone who you impacted, how you took action, handled challenges, figured things out. And it's not from theory, it's not from pep talks, but actual track records. Because when you look back and say, like, here's the proof, here's what I've done, like, here are the times I've done this, you stop thinking like, I can't, and you start thinking like, well, I've done it before, I can do it again, I just have to figure it out. Confidence is rooted in fact, not in feeling. And so that's the kind of confidence that actually lasts. So here's what I want you to do. First, I want you to start like, in your journal, I want you to have a confidence journal, a confidence section of it. And it doesn't have to be fancy. Once again, it could be a notebook, it could be an app on your phone. It could be, there's journaling apps out there even, like whatever it is. Once a week, jot down specific moments when you showed up despite uncertainty, like times that you solved a problem, you navigated that hard conversation, helped someone, got through something challenging, you learned, like you leaned on something on the fly, right? Someone thanked you for something you did that maybe even you didn't even think was that big. Like, be detailed. Skip the like had a good day stuff. Like, we don't need that. We want you to write down like, hey, I stayed calm when my child melted down and I helped them reset. I spoke up in my team meeting even though I felt really nervous. And then next, you can organize these into categories. So like, think about it as like a capability catalog that you would have. Things like times I've figured things out on the fly, or moments I stayed calm under pressure, risks that paid off, feedback people gave me, when they appreciated my help. Why? Like, you want to categorize these because, like, when you're facing something new, whether it's speaking up at work, launching a product, having tough, parenting moment, like, you can go back to the catalog and remind yourself, like, I've got proof that I can do this. And then once a month, do this, like, I call it like a look how far I've come. Where you flip back through that confidence journal, the capability catalog, and look for the patterns. What strengths are showing up again and again? What challenge did you get through? Like, what wins are you forgetting to celebrate? This isn't at all about like ego or being perfect. Like, it's about updating your mental picture of who you are. Because if you do this on purpose, your brain, like, if you don't do this, like, your brain is going to start defaulting back into that old programming, which we know that that's not true programming. Without real evidence to lean on, you're always going to feel like you're starting from scratch. You discount the wins, you let fear drive your choices, but when you're sitting on this documented list of proof, you've already navigated all these uncertainties before, you make better and more decisive decisions. Now, here's the deeper benefit. Like, when you face the inevitable setbacks, because, let's be honest, it doesn't matter, you're going to experience them. They happen. Like I said, the most successful people experience these types of things. You won't spiral. You'll be able to say, like, yep, this is hard, I've been here before, I can handle these sort of things. That builds so much more resilience. That's what creates the kind of like durable confidence that you can bring into any room, in any conversation, in any challenge. This kind that actually carries you forward when it counts the most. And then a shift in how you accelerate that, becoming the person who acts despite uncertainty. Like, think about it. Who are you becoming? And how do you build that identity of this like action taker identity? Like, this is where things really start to go fast and shift for you. And it's one of the biggest breakthroughs in the whole process when you stop thinking of yourself as someone who needs confidence to act. They just start seeing themselves as someone who builds confidence through action. And that switch from waiting to doing, like, that's the piece that changes so many things for you. Because here's what I've seen, like in my own life, but also with many people that I've worked with. When you shift your identity, your actions follow. When you shift how you see yourself, it's going to change everything. The difference between occasionally pushing yourself to be brave and just naturally showing up in that way because it's who you've become. This is built, not born. And so every time that you take some sort of action, you speak up when you're nervous. When you start the project you've been overthinking, when you lean into the hard conversation, you're casting this this vote for your future self. Like, I know that's who I'm becoming, and I'm voting for you, right? Every one of these votes that you do, like, it starts building this track record in your brain of like, I'm someone who takes action despite uncertainty. I'm someone who shows up this way. And of course, the more you do it, the more it sticks. You stop fighting for it. And that's how you create real and lasting change, and how you can then show it better in the world. So, like I said, here's what you want to do as a part of this. Like, let's break down some of the action steps. Like, first, start shifting how you talk about yourself and like literally the words that you are using. Like, you shouldn't ever use anything like, I wish I was more confident. I wish I was more. I wish I could be. Like, hey, I'm trying to be someone who speaks up. I'm someone who takes action even when it's uncomfortable. I'm a parent who is willing to try new approaches. I'm someone who leans into these important conversations. Like, these little shifts in language start rewiring your brain, like how it sees you, and it actually, mattering more and more about what you think about. Like, this is who I am. I'm this version of myself, not the old version that you've been telling me. And then next you do like this, what I call like, there's an identity evidence list, where like you don't have to, once again, please don't overcomplicate this in any sort of a way. Just start jotting down anytime that something aligns with the person that you're trying to become. I spoke up in the meeting, I write it down. I showed up for the workout even when, I didn't feel like it. Cool, write it down. Like, you tried something new with your kids, write it down. Like, these are all going to be proof points to reinforce that new identity. I'm collecting the proof, what is naturally coming to it, and it becomes like this act that's going to keep happening again and again. And then here's one of my favorite techniques, is like this future self decisions. Like, and I learned this from a good friend, mentor, Gio, where it's the future self decisions. Like, when you're hesitating, asking yourself, like, what the version of me in the future, like who I'm becoming, what would they do here? Would they send the email? Would they ask the question? Would they start before they felt ready? And then you let that version of you tell you what it would be. This is how you close the gap between like who you've been and who you're becoming, is just these small decisions that you can make each and every day. Because once your identity shift clicks, everything else will flow so much more. Stop seeing action as something that you have to force, and you just start seeing it as something that you naturally who you are. You stop waiting for motivation and just start trusting yourself to figure it out as you go. There's all sorts of details out this, like that can, details and research out there. Like, there's some like that found the people who adopt this growth identity, they're going to outperform those who are stuck with their old self complexes. Even more like identity-based behaviors change. Like it's 6 times more likely to stick long term, because you're not trying to force new habits. You're just thinking in the decisions and how you would do it as a part of this new identity. At the end of the day, this is about becoming someone who moves like through life with courage, not because you never doubt in any sort of a way, but because you're built like this muscle of taking action anyway. When that's how you see yourself, like, gosh, possibilities of your life and your work, your relationships open up in ways that you could never imagine. There's all sorts of opportunities that are just going to start showing up to you. And so what I want to do is I want to leave you with this sort of a truth, like the confidence that maybe you've been waiting for. It isn't coming, right? Not because you're not worthy of it, but because like you're looking for it in all the wrong places. We've been taught confidence is something that you need. Like, you need the confidence, be courageous and go do this thing. It's like, well, no, you just need to take meaningful actions. The ticket you need, like, to buy before you board the train, like, it's the destination that you reach, by getting on and starting the journey. Every person that you admire built their confidence in that same sort of way. They took action despite uncertainty. They accumulated evidence of their capacity. They learned to trust their ability and figure things out as they go. So like these 5 things that we talked about, these strategies we've covered today, they're not just techniques. Like, they are a complete transformation in how, like, you approach challenges and opportunities and growth. And when you understand that your brain's protection system is designed to keep you safe and not help you thrive, you can start making decisions based on wisdom rather than on just emotion. When you embrace, these action confidence loops, you realize every time that you act despite fear, you're building evidence of your courage. When you master immediate action, like, you stop letting good ideas die, in that gap between impulse and everything. You don't need to implement all of these things at once. Please don't. Like, you're a busy parent, entrepreneur, employee, working, grinding away. Like, just start with whichever strategy resonated with you the most today. Remember, the goal isn't how you eliminate uncertainty. It's to build the muscle of acting with uncertainty. And every time you choose action over comfort, you're not just making progress towards any specific goal. You're becoming the kind of person who creates momentum rather than waiting for it. You build confidence through evidence rather than hoping, like, for it through some sort of preparation. Now, a couple things I want to wrap up with. Like, if this sort of a message resonated with you and you're like, man, that it really does, and I want to dive deeper, like, what do you have? Like, cool. That's where, once again, the best thing you could do is go on Amazon, get yourself a copy of The Giver Method. The link is in the description. Like, this book is packed full of practical tools to help you rediscover your natural gifts, create sustainable impact, and build that action-based confidence that actually sticks. Like, it's a playbook that you can return to anytime, like, you get busy, it's overwhelming. It's designed to work into real life for real people like you. Now, if you're looking for that more personalized approach, then, like I said, I recently opened up a few limited spots for some one-on-one coaching and mentoring. And if that's something you're thinking about, like, or if having the guide in your corner is going to help you take the next steps, then, like, you'll find the link down in the description with all the details to learn more about it. And hey, if you lead a team, run that podcast, host an event, have that mastermind or group call, whatever it is, any platform where your community gathers and you feel like a message or one like this could really serve your people, then I would love to talk about how, like, we can bring this type of work to your audience and give them something they can actually use and apply. You'll find that link down below as well. If you found this video helpful at all, please take a second to comment below, like, what was your biggest takeaway? I'd love to hear, like, what hits home for you. And of course, like the video, subscribe to the channel, tap that bell so you don't miss out on the future content, the videos that we're posting every single week. Remember that, like, your gifts are meant to be expressed. They're not perfected in any sort of way, in private, and then going to the world. Like, your ideas are meant to be tested, not polished effortlessly. Your impact is meant to be created through action, not through planning in perpetuity. The world doesn't need, like, you to feel confident. It just needs you to be willing to act despite any sort of uncertainty and discover your confidence along the way. The person you're meant to become is just waiting on the other side of the actions that you haven't taken yet. So take your first step, no matter how imperfect it is, and let your journey, like, build the confidence, like, that you're seeking and get you to where you're meant to be, because the world's waiting for you to step into that and make that impact that you're born to make. With that, just, like, thank you so much for watching. Please, once again, like, subscribe, all those things, comment, any of that sort of thing. We'll catch you on our next video. Have a great rest of your day.